Hello. Today I'm going to go over the Lecture 11 1950s Modern American Conservative handout that I put in the module section. If you go to the module section, one of the tabs is handouts for our class. One of them is titled Lecture 11, the 1950s Modern American Conservative handout. I'm specifically going to focus right now on the part of the handout that is going to be on the final exam. Question 1 on your final exam is going to be describe 3 aspects of Russell Kirk's definition of modern American conservatism. You will list 3 of them that you like, that you want to talk about, and then you'll talk about them. To analyze them, summarize them, give your point of view on them. And so in this video, I'm going to go over what I went over in class Wednesday, April 3rd, in my 102 class that can help you on the final exam, especially if you were not there. There were multiple students that weren't there, and I think this is extremely important, and you should have it. So I'm doing this video for that. First of all, we need to remind ourselves who Russell Kirk is. As I mentioned in class on Wednesday, April 3rd, from 9:30 to 10:50 a.m. class, Russell Kirk is considered one of the philosophical founders of modern American conservatism. He was a philosopher, a historian, and a writer. He is a prolific writer. He's written dozens of books. On this list here in the handout, I gave you 3 of his more prominent ones. The Conservative Mind, 1953, The American Cause, 1957, The Roots of the American Order, 1974. These are 3 really important books to help understand American history and the different political points of view through U.S. history. As Russell Kirk was, as he became established as a philosophical thinker about modern American conservatism, he was asked at various times to give his definition of modern American conservatism, and he did. And so that's the list I'm going to go over now. I'm going to go over it, and I'm going to give you specific examples. Remember, on the final, you only need to do 3. So I will explain them all, and then you pick kind of which ones make most sense to you, and you can talk about them. You can also go to other websites. There are websites that go over this as well. You're welcome to go over them. Just know they may do a different order that I'm going over, and they may describe it a little differently than I do, and that's fine, just as long as you get the gist of it and the idea. So, on Kirk's definition of modern American conservatism, the first thing is practical over theory. Practical over the theory. Edmund Burke, an 18th century English parliamentarian and writer, called them abstractions. What does practical over theory mean? What that means is when elected officials, government bureaucrats, members of Congress, mayors, city councils, governors, state legislatures, any political office or government office which seeks to implement policy by which citizens of a country will live with, Russell Kirk says it is important to pick and focus on the practical implications of a policy and not the theory or what we hope will happen when we implement policies. I will give you 2 examples now. Both of them I went over in class on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. In this video, for those that missed, I will go over those 2 examples again to help you understand them. The first example I used in class was the idea of a minimum wage. So there are some individuals, right, who argue or think that government should mandate a minimum wage for businesses. Let's force businesses to pay a certain wage. In our current society, what's the wage amount that everyone runs around talking about? A $15 minimum wage. So there are people that argue that we should have a $15 minimum wage. The theory is, right, it sounds like a good idea. Sounds like a good idea. It is a theory that, one, businesses will be able to pay this, and number two, that it will somehow help individuals have a better income, better life, and all that. In Russell Kirk's definition of American conservatism, picking the practical over the theory is when you make policy decisions about a minimum wage, instead of focusing on theories that, well, in theory, it's a good idea. In theory, companies will be able to pay this wage. In theory, companies should be able to do this and they'll be okay. And in theory, all these good things will happen. People will have more money, better life, etc. Okay. You should focus on the practical. What are the practical effects of a policy? What are the practical effects of enforcing a high minimum wage, like, for example, $15 an hour? First, you have to ask, who can pay that? Well, large companies can pay $15 an hour. Small businesses cannot. And so the practical consequence of your theory of a high minimum wage is that the practical consequence is that companies start laying off workers. So instead of helping workers with a good employment, you end up getting workers fired. Okay. What's another practical consequence of a policy? High minimum wage leads to higher prices for consumers. So you're forcing businesses to pay a higher wage. Excellent. Well, prices are going up. So that high minimum wage is going to be negated by prices going up. So the consumer that says, well, I have a $15 minimum wage now, but prices are higher, it's not much of a raise, And so that's the example, is that, before when you make public policy decisions, a government bureaucrat or an elected official, from Russell Kirk's point of view, should pick the practical over the theory. Okay. Practical consequences of actions, not the theory of a utopian, everything works out. Okay. Second, enduring moral order. There has to be an enduring moral order. Okay. What Russell Kirk is saying here in this definition is, for a society, for a civilization to sustain itself over a long period of time and not fall apart into anarchy or tyranny, you need an enduring moral order. Okay? You need some type of social order or moral order that endures over time, that is not subject to the whims of human emotions or family, or human emotions or ideas, I'm saying family, but, or, what people think. The easiest moral order to think about is divine justice. That there is a divine or supreme being. There is a divine justice in the universe. There are moral absolutes. There are things that are wrong no matter what. There are things that are right no matter what. And so this moral order or social order is extremely important. Okay, for a society to survive, and it has to be a strong foundation. Okay, and again, the easiest or most simple example is simply this idea of Judeo-Christian morals and ethics. So for Western civilization, For Western civilization, it would be Christianity. For a lot of Arab cultures, it's Islam. For Asian cultures, it's whatever various, moral orders there are. Buddhism, Confucianism, whatever. Whatever forms the moral order of that society. Okay? And Russell Kirk's definition of conservatism is that bad things happen when you rip out that enduring moral order. It leads to things such as social chaos, anarchy, and tyranny. Okay. The next one, variety and diversity in human society is natural. Social engineering is bad. Eugenics is immoral. In Russell Kirk's definition here, human beings are different. Okay? And that is okay. In other words, in nature, in the world, on its own, human beings are different. Okay? And that is okay. Some people are smarter than others. Some people are harder working than others. Some people have better luck than others. Some people are prettier than others. Some people have more than other people. Some people have less. Some people are lazier than others. Not everyone has the same IQ. Not everyone has the same capacity for success than others. Okay, and yes, and even if you want to get into like the abstractions of the universe, yeah, some people are just luckier than others for whatever reason, whether it's blessed by God or the universe, likes whatever, things are different. Okay, and that's okay. Okay. Social engineering is bad in that when you have government step in and say, or government or society step in and say, everyone has to be this or everyone has to be that. When you have forced conformity that gets rid of those natural differences, okay, that is oppressive to the human mind and consciousness. Okay, and then eugenics is immoral. Okay, when you have government or people start deciding what people look like, what people do, that gets into immorality. It's immoral. And we've already gone over in class, and we kind of already know from popular culture, the number one 20th century example of eugenics. Right? That would be immoral. That would be National Socialist Germany. Right? And so, variety and diversity in human society is natural and normal. Okay. To give you a specific example, my class. Okay. And I gave this in class on Wednesday, April 3rd. When students randomly pick my class. Okay. The 30 students that are in my classroom are different. Not everyone's an A student. Not everyone's a B student. Not everyone's a D student. Hopefully not everyone's an F student. Okay? That is okay. It is okay that there are some students that have a better capacity at writing and knowledge of history than others. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's okay. For example, if I were to go to a physics class, okay, I do not have as much capacity to understand physics and math as somebody else. For example, my oldest son, he has a greater capacity to understand science and math than I do. That is fine. Okay, so that's what that means. Variety and diversity in human society is natural and normal, and that is okay. Okay. Not everyone Not everyone needs to be an A student. Not everyone needs to be a C student. Hopefully not everyone's an F student. There's variety and differences. That's okay. When government steps in to try to make things a certain way, that goes from bad, unadvisable, to outright immoral. Okay, so that's what that means. The next one, justice argues for equality of opportunity and rights, but not equality of things or result. Okay, and this is connected to the previous one. This is connected to the previous one. Variety and diversity in human society is natural. Okay, is completely okay. It is okay for there to be smarter people than others. It is okay for there to be people with a greater capacity for something than others. Okay, and this is not a popular point of view, but it's actually okay for there to be richer people than others. That's normal. That is going to happen. Okay, I mean, so that's not a popular opinion, but it's true. It is actually okay for there to have. It's actually okay for there to be people with more money than others. That's normal and natural in a free market, free society with liberty and justice for all. You're going to have, you know what I mean. So in this example, justice argues for equality of rights and opportunities, but not equality of result or things. Okay, and this is going to upset some people, but it's okay for there to be people with 3 homes. That's fine. It's okay for there to be people with 3 homes. Okay. It's okay for there to be rich people and poor people. Okay. Now, what is the issue? Justice, okay, justice argues for equality of rights and opportunity. What that means is, it's fine for there to be people with 3 homes. Okay? But should there be an equality of opportunity, meaning everyone has at least the opportunity to get 3 homes? Sure. Yeah. Right? So equality of rights or opportunities. Okay? So as long as the government or the system does not go out of its way to keep people from achieving something, that's fine. Okay. Now, should government step in and take away one of the homes of the 3-person home and give it to somebody else? No, that is not justice. Okay. The Marxist idea of income redistribution is immoral. Okay. For the government to step in and take from one group and give to another, okay, that wealth redistribution, that is immoral, okay, because that's not justice, okay. Justice is opportunity. Can this person have 3 homes? Yes, fine. Should this person have the opportunity to get 3 homes? Yeah, absolutely, right? Equality of opportunity, okay, not equality of things or results. Should the government step in and make sure everyone has 3 homes? No. That's not justice. Justice is opportunity. Okay? It's okay for there to be somebody with 3 homes, as long as this other person over here has at least the opportunity. Okay, you get the shot at it, kind of a thing. To put it for a classroom, is everyone in class an A student? No. Right? What are the odds? What are the odds that 30 A students randomly sign up for my class? Astronomical. Okay. But should everyone who comes in my class have the opportunity to get an A? Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? And just the reverse. What are the odds that 30 F students randomly signed up for my class? Highly unlikely. So if everyone fails my class, something's wrong. The odds that 30 F students randomly picked my class, that's astronomical, right? So justice argues for equality of rights and opportunity, but not equality of things and all. It is not justice for the government to take from Group A and give to Group B just because. Okay? No. Government, should government ensure equal opportunity? Absolutely. Okay? For example, we've talked about segregation. Okay, already in class. Well, what made segregation unjust? Justice argues for equality of opportunity, right? What did segregation deny? Equality of opportunity. That's what made segregation unjust. Is that government stepped in and said, you do not have the opportunity to achieve this for an arbitrary reason, right? And so, justice argues for equality of rights and opportunities, but not equality of things or results. Okay, should everyone have the opportunity to have the internet? Yes. Should government step in and make sure everyone has the internet? Not necessarily. But should government step in? Should you have at least the opportunity? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Justice argues justice is equality of rights and opportunities. You and I have the same rights, right? Life, liberty, and property. We have the same rights, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. We have the same opportunity, but not equality of things or results. Right. I have 2 cars. That's okay. The fact that there's somebody with 0 cars doesn't make me evil for having 2 cars. That's completely okay. Okay. Now, should that person have the opportunity to get a car if they want? Yeah, they should have the opportunity. Job, earn money, whatever. Okay. Next. Property and freedom are connected. Economic leveling is not economic progress. Okay. So, the reason a lot of students today don't realize this is because Thomas Jefferson changed the formula that John Locke used to describe our basic rights and liberties. John Locke's formulation of our basic liberties was life, liberty, and property. Life, liberty, and property. Okay. Thomas Jefferson changed it to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay. Thomas Jefferson changed John Locke's formulation, and so we as Americans kind of we've lost that idea that property and freedom are connected. If I, as a citizen, am not secure in my property, I am not free. Okay? Same thing with life and liberty. If my life and liberty and my property are not secured, then I am not free. Okay? If your life, liberty, and property are not secure, then you are not free. Okay? They are connected. Okay? Economic leveling is not economic progress. It is not justice, and it is not progress, okay, to take from Group A and give it to Group B just because. Okay? Just because everyone should have the same thing. No. That is not justice. That is not progress. Okay? That's tyranny. Okay? When government steps in and says to Group A, we're going to forcibly take these things, whether it's money or property, and give it to Group B just because we think Group B should have it. That's not moral. That is not just. And that is not progress. Okay? That's tyranny. Okay? The most common example today would be eminent domain. where government can step in and take your property to build a freeway or a road or whatever it wants. Eminent domain is an issue. Okay. And then going back to the three houses guy, it is not economic progress to go to the guy with three homes and say you have to give a home to somebody that has zero. That's not economic progress. That's tyranny. You're going to the guy with three houses and tyrannizing him. You're removing his property and giving it to somebody else. Okay? That's not justice. That's not moral. And that's not progress. That's tyranny. Property and freedom are connected. Okay? You do not live in a free society if your life, your liberty, and your property are not secure. Okay? If government or anyone else can just come along and take your property for whatever reason, you do not live in a free society. Okay. Property and freedom are connected. Okay. I mentioned this in class for those that missed it. I did mention this in class on Wednesday, April 3rd. Another reason why property and freedom is connected is kind of uncomfortable for us today to look at is at one time in the United States we had a different definition of what property was a little bit in regards to human beings, and so that's another issue. You're kind of like it's kind of the same argument, but there the issue is what a human being is not property. A human justice argues for equality of rights and opportunity. Black or African American people, before the Civil War, their rights and opportunity were being violated. Property was being inappropriately defined, right? So that's the issue there. It's not that property and freedom are connected as a bad idea. It's just the definition of property was misdefined. Okay. Next. Power is destructive. Power is destructive. Human beings and government need restraint. Limited government. Okay. So, remember when we went over Lecture 4? Lecture 4, the Progressive Era? Okay. You had a handout about progressivism. What's one of the core principles of progressivism? Using the power of government to reform society. And then what was another principle? That human beings can perfect society through government action. Okay, so back in Lecture 4, those are two principles in progressivism. That it's okay to use the power of government to reform society, and two, human beings can be perfected through government action. Okay. Now here we are on Lecture 11. Russell Kirk's definition of a modern American conservatism is that power is destructive. Okay. Human beings and government need restraint. Okay. Can you see the juxtaposition, right? Progressivism, use government power. Use government power to reform society. So use government, and then you come up with a good excuse. Your good excuse to reform society. And then in progressivism, somehow using government power can create a perfect society, a utopia. Right. Then over here, you have a realization of what? Russell Kirk says, we need to understand human nature. Okay? When you study world history, what's one of the sorry, it appeared I had issues with audio. So from a conservative point of view, modern American conservative, you understand human nature. Study world history. What's one of the basic lessons you learn from history? Human beings tend to misuse power. Okay? Power is destructive. Okay? So that is why government needs limits. What is government? What do human beings and government need restraint? Human beings, what did John Locke say? Human beings create government. So human beings create government. That's the basic reason why government needs restraint. Because human beings are running it. Power destroys. Power is destructive. When human beings get power, they tend to misuse it even when they have good intentions. Even when their intentions are good, they tend to misuse it. Okay? That is just a simple knowledge of, one, human nature, and two, world history. It's history. Okay? Human beings and government need restraint. Okay? And there's all kinds of examples of that. Okay? Right? So, power is destructive. When human beings get power, they tend to misuse it. And that's an obvious critique of progressivism, right? Progressivism says, yes, absolutely, use government power. The excuse? To reform society. To create a perfect society. To create okay. So a progressive might say, somebody politically progressive would say, it's okay to use the power of government. Russell Kirk, more conservative ideology, would say you need to be careful by how much power you give government. You need to be careful, okay? Because it can turn into a tyranny. Okay. Next, voluntary community over involuntary action, or collectivism. Sorry, involuntary community over involuntary collectivism. In other words, individual liberty is important and freedom of association is paramount. Okay. It is unjust to force people involuntary collectivism. It is wrong. It is not just. It's immoral, whatever word you want to use. It is not just to force people together. And that, to me personally, if I can give my opinion, that's kind of a fundamental issue with anything. Force. Okay? Are you forcing the human mind? Are you forcing the human will? Are you forcing things to be done? Voluntary community. People should freely associate with who they want. Free association. Okay. Involuntary, it is wrong to force collectivism. Okay. It is wrong to say you have to do this because, whatever reason. Freedom of association is paramount. Okay. We should be able to associate with who we want. Voluntary community. Right? Get together, everyone should get together and work together. For government to step in and force involuntary collectivism would be wrong. Okay. Next. America is an example to the world, but should not remake the world. So remember, this is the direct critique of what? Remember in Lecture 5, World War I, we went over Woodrow Wilson's 14 points. What did Woodrow Wilson say? We wanted to make the world safe for democracy. What else did Woodrow Wilson say? Woodrow Wilson, through the 14 points, what did he envision? He envisioned a world where everyone was a capitalist democracy and traded with each other. And that would end war. What will end war if everyone got together? If everyone got together and was a democracy and traded with each other. In other words, if we were all the same, we'd be okay, right? Um, Russell Kirk's critique is America is an example of the world. We are an example of the American experiment. Remember, we talked about this before. America is an experiment in self-government. Can a people come together in a voluntary community and govern themselves, create government and govern themselves, right? We're an example of the world. Liberty, justice, equality, liberty, justice, freedom, self-determination, you know, live the American dream, okay? But we should not remake the world. In other words, we shouldn't go out and start forcing people to all be capitalist democracies. Okay, so that's the point there. Um, a more recent example, since I won't get to it in the class, you know, and for those that missed class, um, you know, this is this is what I talked about. George W. Bush, 2001, 2002, and 3, 4. What was his vision? His vision was a lot like Woodrow Wilson's. How will there be peace in the Middle East if everyone is a pro-Western capitalist democracy and traded freely with each other? Okay, so you go in and you go into Afghanistan and Iraq and try to create, you know, this capitalist democracy, right? And so that didn't work, right? You tried to remake the world. Okay. Next. The next one on the list, human beings imperfect, not perfectible by man. Okay. Again, going back to lecture 4, the progressive era, where we talked of the origins and definitions of progressivism. Progressivism says what? Through government action, you can perfect human society. Okay. This is Russell Kirk offers a critique to that. Human beings are not perfect. Therefore, human beings can't perfect somebody else. You're not perfect. You're imperfect. There's no way for you to perfect somebody else. Okay? Human beings are not perfectible by man. Human beings cannot create a utopia. Okay? Because we're not perfect. Okay? And throughout world history, there are many, many examples of human beings trying to create this utopia. It ends in anarchy or tyranny. Okay. You know, recent examples: Germany, National Socialism; Stalin's communism. Okay. I mean, human beings are imperfect, not perfectible by man. Just a human being cannot create utopia. When human beings try to create utopia or the perfect society, it usually ends in anarchy or chaos. Right. The last one, change and reform are not identical. Moral and political innovation can be bad as well as good. Prudence and rational thought are important. One of the critiques, one of the critiques one of the critiques of just a sec, one moment. One of the critiques of progressivism is that it tends to treat any change as progress, and that is not correct. Change can be bad as well as good. Not every change is progress. And that, for Russell Kirk, that is the main critique or issue with progressivism as a political ideology. It treats change and reform as identical. It treats moral and political innovation as always good. It's not always good. Ripping out your moral order for something else isn't necessarily a good thing. And your example I would give you is our current day society. Okay? Our current day society has ripped out the moral order, the moral foundations of Western civilization. Okay? And then we are shocked at the social chaos that we're experiencing. Okay? So change and reform are not identical. Change just to change isn't necessarily good. Change can be bad as well. Okay? Moral and political innovation, meaning changing your moral and social order, not necessarily a good thing. It can lead to chaos. Okay? Prudence and rational thought. You need to think about things before you do them. Okay? And so, utopian ideas sound, oh, great. Everyone has the same thing, And that's a main critique of Karl Marx. Karl Marx's ideology that he espoused is largely not rationally thought out and utopian. Okay, it does not understand or take into account human nature. Okay, and it violates people's freedom and liberty. Okay. Change for the sake of change is not necessarily good. Okay, so that's what that means. Thank you. Have a good day.